Turn now to the winner of the Iowa caucuses. Mitt Romney joins us from Des Moines this morning. And Governor, congratulations. I guess every vote counts, right?
I guess that's true. Although I think there's a real boost coming out of Iowa, not just for me, but also, of course, for Rick Santorum and Ron Paul.
But what does it say about your candidacy that you actually won fewer votes than you did in 2008, and you fought Rick Santorum to a draw, basically, even though you outspent him 50-1 on television ads?
Well, this was a 7-person field, of course, and so you can't do with 7 people in the field what you can do with a smaller field. And I've also run a national campaign. Rick has focused his effort, and I think in a wise way, entirely on Iowa. I've been campaigning in other states, putting together the kind of organization which I believe will get me the 1,150 delegates I need. So let me tell you, I'm going to take every win I can possibly get and get every delegate I can possibly get.
Is Rick Santorum your prime opponent now, and what's your top argument against him? Why should Republican voters choose you over him?
You know, I don't know who the other finalist will be. I hope I'm one of the 2 finalists, by the way. At this stage, it looks like it's Rick Santorum. And we have very different backgrounds. I spent my life, the first 25 years in the private sector. I know a great deal about how jobs are created, how they come and how they go. And I think Rick has spent most of his life in the governmental sector. Nothing wrong with that experience, but it's very different, I think, if you want to get the economy going again.
Meantime, Newt Gingrich is really coming after you, Governor, as I'm sure you know. Yesterday he called you a liar, saying that you know a lot more about those super PAC ads than you're letting on. He also says you're a Massachusetts moderate. Jake Tapper showed in his piece this ad you're going to be greeted by in the Manchester Union Leader. The choice, only a bold Reagan conservative, Newt Gingrich in that ad, can defeat President Obama. What's your response to former Speaker Gingrich? Well,
I'm sure he's disappointed in the results last night, but I expect he'll go on and mount a spirited campaign, and we'll look forward to seeing him in the states ahead. Look, I have pretty broad shoulders. I know the attacks are going to come. They're going to become more fast and furious now. And they're going to come from the DNC, as well as the president and the White House, as well as my rivals in the Republican contest. And if you can't handle the heat now, you certainly can't handle the heat down the road.
He's calling you a liar. Is that out of bounds?
You know, it's pretty heated rhetoric, obviously, and I think he's just really angry, disappointed, and I mean, he was leading in the polls here by a pretty wide margin, and one of the things I feel good about is having come from way behind just a few weeks ago to come to a point where well, we're in a virtual tie for the finish.
You know, looking at the bigger picture in the Republican primaries now, it seems like you're winning the minds of Republican voters, at least those in Iowa, but not their hearts. Those who want to beat Obama go to you, but those who are looking for a true conservative or a strong moral leader are looking elsewhere. How do you fix that?
You know, I think people have to hear me more and more, see my record as the Massachusetts governor, and remember that I ran 4 years ago, and Mike Huckabee and I were the conservative choices in that campaign. We got beaten by a very strong campaigner in John McCain. But, you know, I'll just have to get my message across the country, and I think people who understand that I will restore to this country its fundamental principles of freedom and opportunity are being drawn into my campaign. And by the way, the crowds here in Iowa were large and enthusiastic.
They were large and enthusiastic, but as I said, you did get fewer votes than 4 years ago. And I wonder, as you look at the general election ahead with President Obama, as you try to appeal to these Republican voters looking for a true conservative, are you worried at all as you try to reassure them that you might then turn off those moderates and independent voters you'll need in a general election if you do indeed get the nomination? Those independent voters last night went heavily to Ron Paul.
You know, I actually think, George, that if you're in a race like this, you express your views on the issues and talk about your vision for the country, and you really don't try and figure out which group you're trying to appeal to. I wrote a book a couple of years ago. It laid out my vision for the country. I'm not going to sway to the right or the left of that. I'm just going to talk about the things I believe, and hopefully that will lead me to a victory. But if it doesn't, you know, I can live with that. Stand by your prediction from a couple of days ago. You're going to win this nomination? You know, I sure plan on winning the nomination. That's no sure thing. I can't predict how that will happen, but I think if I do my job, if our team is able to do a good job, why, we ought to be able to post up pretty well against President Obama down the road. Governor Mitt Romney, thanks very much. We'll see you Saturday in New Hampshire. Thanks, George. Good to be with you.